If you're clocking into a 9 to 5 right now, building someone else's dream, and quietly wondering if you've got one of your own, this episode is for you, because the guy we're talking about today did exactly that. Chandler Nimitz worked for someone else for 7 years, 16 to 18-hour days, showed up early, outworked everyone, made his boss millions. And then one day, his boss told him he couldn't take a family vacation he'd planned a year in advance. That was the moment he decided never again. Today, Chandler runs a multi-million-dollar HVAC company. And on this episode, he walks us through exactly how he got out and built it for himself. We get into the numbers nobody teaches you, what it actually costs to turn the key, run a truck, and still make a profit. We talk about the leap, how he quit with no safety net, why worst case scenario, I get my job back, was the only permission he needed, and how he told his wife after he'd already done it. We dig into how a regular installer beat 2,000 competitors and held a perfect 5-star rating when nobody else could. If you've ever sat at your desk and thought, I could do this on my own, but didn't know the first step, Chandler is about to lay out the whole map. This story is how an ordinary employee became his own boss. Now let's get into it.
Man, what is my purpose? When you ask that question, it's like, I can use my hands, right? I have the capacity to use my hands, my feet, my knowledge to build. And that's kind of what I've leaned into for the last 10, 15 years is I was put on this earth to build. And what that looks like, no idea. But yeah, just I love building stuff.
What did your parents do for work?
So my dad was a firefighter
Okay.
growing up. He was a firefighter for, I don't remember how long he was a firefighter for, but then since I was a third child, right, and there's 3 of us at a newborn, 2 years old, and 4 years old, that's a lot on my mom. So right when I was born, I was maybe a year, I think is what my mom told me, because I don't remember that young. And he got laid off because a new corporation came in, took over the fire department. They laid everybody off, and then they, shortly after asked everybody, they wanted to come back under this new management, whatever it was. But at that point, it was way too much of my mom. 3 kids at home, 24 on, 48 off. At 24 odd, right? She's bearing 3 kids on her own, and
Yeah.
wild kids
Yeah.
put a lot on her. So he ended up stopped becoming a firefighter at that point, and then he started getting to permitting, right? So he worked for the county, not so much the county, but they would run the permits for builders, right? So they needed permits, they'd shoot down to the county, hey, I need you to pick up these permits, these plans, go submit them, do what you need to do, bring them back to the office. So they were kind of like the third party for contractors, construction.
Gotcha.
So he did that pretty much for a while. And then just recently, 23, he passed away. Alcohol, it's always ran in his family. That's his dad passed, my grandpa. And I think my grandpa passed away when I was 10-ish, 8 to 10, from that. And then just recently, 23, my dad passed away from the same thing. And it's tough. But yeah, that's kind of what he did up to that point.
What kind of student were you?
Not a good one. Wasn't smart. I couldn't pay attention for anything. Not that I couldn't read, but I could read fine. I just would fall asleep. Literally, I would be reading a book and I just doze off because I couldn't pay attention, right? I was just sitting still. I couldn't do.
Wasn't interesting.
It wasn't
to you?
interesting to me, and it was a struggle for me all the way up to high school, right? And I was always in like intermediate classes, right? I was a senior with freshmen, just because I couldn't pass the class because I didn't care. It's not that I wasn't smart enough. I know I have the knowledge that I have, but schooling just bored the crap out of me. It didn't move my needle. I didn't like going. I never skipped or anything. I wasn't a bad kid. I just didn't care to study for tests, didn't care to do the homework. I'd rather be outside, go play with my brothers and build stuff. Like, oh shoot, I do got homework. Well, I'll see if I can cheat off the next guy. He'll give me the test, or he'll give me the answers for the homework. So I did a lot of that in school. Then up to high school, yeah, it was come to a point to where we had a thing called FCAT, right? It was the standardized testing that they had, and you had to take it, get a certain score, and then it you pass out of it and you don't have to take certain classes. I was down to the wire out of high school. You could take your ACT, which would qualify you to get your, diploma, high school diploma. And it took like the very last month before graduation, my senior year, is like, hey, if you don't pass this, you're gonna get GED. You're not gonna get a diploma. And I ended up taking the ACT a couple times, didn't do too well, and then I was like, well, I gotta figure out a way to graduate. So yeah, I cheated in front of the girl in front of me. Had no idea if it was the right test, but I was like, screw it, what's gonna happen? Worst case.
Oh no.
So what ended up happening was on the ACT, I don't know what the score is. I think the highest is like a 32, and I ended up getting like a 27 on it. And like there's like 15 people in our school that got somewhere close to that, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I am that smart. I was just sandbagging you guys the whole time. But no, I knew I cheated on it, right? I did. But I ended up getting that passing score significant, right? The first scores I was getting was like, I think you needed like a 16 to pass, and I was getting like 12s the first 2 times I took it. Then I get a 27. Yeah, studying my butt off, just faking it. But that was how I was able to graduate. I got that ACT score, and that qualified me to walk and get through high school.
So safe to say you weren't looking to go to college after that?
Heck no. That was never on my plate. I had really nobody in my family really went to college. So it wasn't a path that I knew or was really educated on. But then, yeah, right after that, I was like, just get me my diploma and I'll figure something out. And then so from there, that's where I graduated high school, 17 years old. I was a little bit younger in my class. And right from there, my brother, his roommate, was in air conditioning, and I heard he was starting his own company at some point. So from there, I asked him, I was like, hey man, I'm working at Dairy Queen at the time. That was the only other job I really had was Dairy Queen. After my senior year of football season, I started working at Dairy Queen, and then I was there for probably a year and a half, doing that part-time, and then approached him and said, hey, I know you're starting an air conditioning business. Like, let me work. I love working with my hands. I like doing things. I like tinkering with things, and didn't know anything about it. Walked in completely green, just saying, I got a great work ethic. I know how to bust my butt. I'm not going to quit. I really don't have much of a choice. I'm not going to school. What else is there? Being in Southwest Florida, where it's, 1 week out of the year, it gets 60 degrees, and then that's our winter. It's hot all year round. So I was like, well, that makes sense. You can get into air conditioning. That's pretty much a job that you're going to have year round. That's recession proof. Like you can't really go out of work, in the air conditioning business down in Southwest Florida. So I headed that on, and that's where I started as just a helper. Just, hey, I don't know anything about it. I know what the tools are because I tinkered with them growing up as kids. And I knew what a hammer was. I knew what a wrench was. I knew how to use them. And me and his other roommate got hired at the same time. And from there, it was a journey, quite the journey. And it was fun because I started there not knowing anything. He said, be here at this time. Great. I'm there at this time. It was never late. We would work 16, 17, 18-hour days, day in, day out, day in, day out. I was always at his front door knocking, 7 o'clock. Hey, what are we doing today? So the work it wasn't difficult for me to put in the work, right? Because I knew I had no other choice. It was do the work or no other option. There was no exit plan. There was no college. Nothing was talked about like that.
It's just crazy to hear you talk about that as like, we look back and like you as a student, there's so many teachers and you hear these stories over and over where teachers will tell you're never going to amount to nothing. You're not applying yourself because you're not doing school or this or that. You're never going to be successful, right? You're going to be working at a Dairy Queen the rest of your life. Like, and they have no idea. I see more and more stories of where, yeah, school just isn't right for some people, right? But they can apply themselves. And it sounds like you sound like the perfect employee. You were on time. You were willing to learn, willing to work, and learning all the time. Whereas if you were looking at you as a student, you would be like, you would never be a good employee. But it's just because you weren't passionate about it or excited about it.
Yeah.
So it seemed like this is what excited you.
Yeah, it was, and when you brought that up, it made me go back to kind of high school. Was schooling was my thing, but you put me out on a field, a sports, anything. I was the fastest kid on the football team, right? I could, uh, I wasn't a suck up to these coaches, right? Because I knew what I had. I was like, I'm not going to be a suck up to these guys. The parents would talk to the other, the coaches and be like, why is my kid not playing? And I was never like that. My parents weren't like that. It was like, you can see what I have. And some of the coaches could, whether that pulled some weight or not, but I was just always very talented. Very, very, everything I did, I was good at. It was just a natural talent. Just me and my brothers were always good at, no matter what we did. Um, and took a little bit of advantage of that, right? Not in a bad way, but just got not lazy, but like things came very easily. It felt like, to me at least. So anything that had to do with sports or athleticism, I was pretty freaking top notch, just naturally. So I knew I was like, schooling is not for me, whatever that looks like. I didn't think I was going to go play college sports. In high school, I just wasn't that good. I was just, anything I touched, I could pick it up really quick. And I was pretty good at it, relatively soon. Um, and I knew that about myself. I started coming out of high school. I was like, man, no matter what I do, like, I'm a hard worker. I know how to outwork people. That's not the issue. It's just what is the right thing for me, and I no idea what that looked like. But I'm gonna do everything, whatever I'm going towards. I know I'm gonna be good at it naturally because it's God. God gave me these talents and gifts. Um, but then, yeah, it was whatever you do, just do it well. So I started leaning into that as I got older, right out of high school. So, yeah, made me think of that for some reason.
I can completely relate. You talk about teachers, and I had numerous. I did not have a good school experience, partially for myself because I was the exact same way. It wasn't that I wasn't smart enough or that I couldn't do it; it's I didn't want to do it. I had no intention of doing homework. I never did it. Never. I don't think I mean, I can think of very few times I ever did homework in my entire life. Always procrastinate the assignments. I remember I had a teacher just pull me aside one day and just looked at me, and he's just like, "You will never amount to anything in your life." And I'm just like, "Okay, like, whatever." And just wild that, and I look back at that, and it's just one, wild that an educator would ever do that. And now I understand like how crazy that is. But two, there was nothing wrong with me. I wasn't made. I can't control how I was created. I am not made for 8 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day of in front of a book. It's just not me. But you put tools in my hand or a computer in my hands is something that I can tangibly function and operate with, and then give me instruction visually, I will excel very, very quickly. And it was all, as soon as I realized, I was like, oh, okay, I can't do this, but I do really well over here. So I need to focus on these things and I'll be just fine. And having that, or just having a different system in place for schooling for kids would be amazing. And so I try to take the same knowledge and apply that to my kids. But luckily my kids are not like that. Like they do very well. They're both very good students, and not like me where I never touched a homework assignment in my entire life, so I don't have to worry about it too much. That's awesome. So you're working for this company, this gentleman. Actually, I want to ask one thing. So you understand, clearly there was a work ethic that you involved. Show up for one, I would have never showed up at 7 o'clock on time. I barely can get the things on time now.
Facts.
But I'll stay and outwork anybody. I just, getting there, I might be 5 minutes late. Where'd the work ethic? I mean, is this from your dad? Like, did you watch your dad have a good work ethic? And I know you mentioned he had some alcohol issues, and what was your relationship with your dad?
So when the alcohol issue was like, we didn't even know about it until 5-6 years ago. No idea. Like, I don't think he was drinking alcohol as we were growing up as kids, right? His grandpa was and did, but we didn't know this until it became a problem and he started having health problems. And my parents had split when I was 13. So it was a weird time for me, right? I didn't know exactly what was going on. I didn't really care. I just, being a high school kid, hanging out with my buddies, playing some video games, playing outside. Yeah, we had no idea this was a thing. And then get a random call from now, my dad's fiance at the time. Hey, he's not doing well. He's in the hospital. Like, what do you mean? What is going on? And there were some signs that we caught the way he was acting for like our wedding, my wife, mine and my wife's wedding, and then our kids, as we had kids' birthday parties, like it was kind of weird and it didn't add up. Like this is my dad. Like wasn't the dad that I knew growing up. Because he was there for everything. He was our biggest supporter. He'd help us build things and do things with us. And then after we split, he went with this other lady, and from there, I think he was just miserable, and he started drinking, and we didn't know that until it was a problem, and then he ended up in the hospital, and we're like, where did this come from? Like we had no idea, and asked my mom, like, was this ever a thing? Did you know about it? She had no idea. If he was or wasn't, can't go back and ask him now. But as he came to the end of his life, it was tried to ask him these things because I really wanted to know. I didn't want to go down that same path. And to answer your question about the work ethic, I think it came from my older brothers, right? I get to see two older brothers go down two different paths, right? I had my oldest brother, Caleb. He was high school quarterback. He was super shredded in high school. He was a good-looking dude. Still is, don't get me wrong. But just muscles and just strong quarterback. Everybody loved him. He was the popular dude in this school. So I saw that route, right? And right as he graduates high school, being 4 years older, I'm coming in as a freshman, right? He just graduates. I'm next. And I have a middle brother who's a sophomore at that time. My middle brother he calls himself the black sheep, and we joke about it. But he was a troublemaker, right? He was always getting in trouble, right? Because there was one guy that goes down this high school quarterback, strong dude, good-looking dude, just everybody loved him, popular kid in school. And then 2 years younger, another brother that was always getting in trouble, fighting, getting kicked out of school. He ended up getting arrested multiple times. So I got to see two different paths growing up, and I'm like, well, that one doesn't look fun. I don't want to go to jail. That doesn't look fun to me. That one looks a little bit better, right? He's in good shape. He's a quarterback. He's healthy. So it gave me two different perspectives to look up to as the youngest sibling. And that was powerful. And I think that's what helped my oldest brother, right? Was looking up to him, was like, dang, this dude's strong. He's got muscles. And my dad you look pictures back at him and he's just shredded. I'm like, dang, like this is in our DNA. Like I got to take advantage of this stuff because it's here. I have it. I was blessed with this. But the work ethic was probably a little bit of my dad just pushing us and always wanted us to be very good at sports. Like he was always there supporting us and practicing. And then I saw my older brother, and he would as I start to get older, he would help me train, right? He's like, hey, let's go run down the road. We had a dirt road. We lived on 5 acres, and hey, if you want, I'll hook up a tire, pull a rope, you go pull it, get faster, get bigger, faster, stronger. We had a gym in our garage, and my brother would start lifting, and then my dad started lifting with him, right, to tie into it. And this was right around the time, right before they split. So I was 12, 13-ish, around that age. So I got to see that, and I think that has a lot to do with the work ethic, was just watching my older brother and how well he did. I'm like, yeah, I want to follow that path. That looks a lot better than the other one. And me and my middle brother talk about that to this day. Just like, wow, yeah, there's two different paths for sure.
Sounds like he's in a better spot now, though. It sounds like he continue down that
way better spot. He ended up moving out of Florida, went to Colorado, had a handful of business himself, very, successful with just ideas. And growing up, we were always hustling, me and him, some way, somehow, selling candy bars in middle school. Hey, we'll go get the Costco pack and we'll sell for $1.50. We'll make 10 extra bucks. And the Livestrong bracelets were a big one, the yellow Livestrong bracelets. My dad would encourage it, right? And that was a lot of the work ethic, was like, hey, if we buy this and you go do this, you can make a couple extra bucks doing it this way, but you're going to pay me back. I'll pay it for you and I'll buy it for you. You go sell it. You keep the difference, pay me back.
Doing business.
Yeah. So looking back, like I didn't know that's what was happening,
But there was some guidance there.
But yes,
he was teaching you already.
He was teaching it how to. He was always a hustler.
That's got to be.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
As a kid, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't care to know. I was just being a kid.
But it's being ingrained in you at a young age.
Yes, it was, because he was flipping cars, buying and selling flipping cars, and we did that.
And you're watching that.
Yeah. And then as we started to get a little older, he would give us the power to go do it. He's like, hey, if you guys see any cars on the side of the road, like, let me know. We'll go look at them. And we did that a handful of times. It was like, hey, Dad, I saw this car. Like, let's go stop and look at it on the side of the road, because down in Florida, there's only two ways. You have north and south on one main highway and one, smaller highway, and that's it. You have a couple of roads that interact in between, but it's north and south. That's all you got. And you got the Gulf on one side, the ocean, and then about 15 miles in, and you have the Everglades. So you're in a little pocket, right? It's just a strip. So there's only so much stuff that can go on in that area. But yeah, we were always trying to flip cars just as kids, and my dad would do it. If you see a good opportunity, take it, right? So yeah, looking back at it, it was always ingrained to us, right? It wasn't like, hey, this is what you're going to do. It was just, hey, my dad was doing this, tagging us along, and then now we're like, oh, okay, hustling.
That's cool. Yeah, both of my parents liked, did you ever go to garage sales?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, oh, dude, that was a big thing
Yep.
for us. My mom on Saturday mornings, like up early and out, like going around, going to thrift and garage sales and
Yeah.
stuff, and
One
teaching me
man's
how
trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Just bargain
that.
shopping and kind of grading that, you know.
So that was,
Yes.
I could see how that'd be pretty hard though. I mean, so it sounds like you got a pretty good experience. Your dad, was showing you guys a lot and doing stuff, and then kind of have that tragedy at the end of his life, not really understanding it. And it doesn't sound like you have answers or ever got answers for it.
Yeah, definitely didn't get answers.
Just clearly something. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was just unexpected, didn't know, and then it just
Bound to for you.
expedited and then gone.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's awesome though that he was able to instill, the entrepreneurship. I mean, you wouldn't call it a hustler. I mean, that's exactly what it is, flipping stuff and running around. And I constantly have this discussion with my son. I'm like, you're not going to go work for McDonald's. You're not going to I'm 100%, you will not go work for, and not saying that people can't go do it. I don't want to disparage it too much. There's nothing wrong with going and learning to work for someone. That's where I started. It was an hourly job at a place, learning how to work. But you literally can go to a garage sale or a estate sale or a myriad of any other things, or go buy a lawnmower and go work for a fraction of the time and make the same amount of money you would work a 40-hour work week, and then be able to turn around and put your time towards a passion project or something that you want to work that you can turn and grow. And I just try to instill that, because I feel like the world puts you towards when I grew up, find a job, buy a house, have a family, and you make a mortgage payment, you pay it off, and then hopefully you can retire. Like, that's the life.
Institutionalized.
Yeah,
like
institutionalized,
the
100%.
schooling, the
Yep.
structuredness of, we got to do this, the 9 to 5. If you don't do this, you're going to be a failure. But
The system.
Yep.
yeah,
And I, unfortunately, I didn't realize until, a couple years ago that hey, dummy, don't do that. If there's anything I could say, the opposite, don't buy a house, go start a business, create cash flow, and use the cash flow to grow and do things. Don't go, there's no need to go and get in debt for a $500,000 home that you just pay money on every week or every month that just costs money. The smartest thing you can do is create cash flow. And it's so ingrained in me now. So I just constantly try to ingrain that into my son. Like, look, you don't have to do it this way. If you're going to buy a house, buy a condo, rent out the other half, rent out the rooms, like, just be smart with your money. Because if you spend from 18 to 30 accumulating assets, by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, like, you'll be so far ahead and you'll enjoy life more, have more freedom. And that's the biggest thing that we always talk about. We just want to create freedom. Money is what it is.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool at the end of the day.
That's
If
it.
you put that
make you happy.
first, it's going to be,
Yep.
you're going to have a rough life,
Yep.
because it comes and goes.
You just
Right.
want to create the ability to do what you want and serve people and do things for people, and honestly spend time with your kids and your family. And then so to make sacrifices. And I say that as an entrepreneur, probably the hardest thing you can do on your family.
Yeah.
But
I made a lot of money early on in my 20s, but I had never had money and didn't grow up with money. So I spent it all. Like, I wasted so much money. It was ridiculous. I wish I would have known now back then, if I had someone teaching me these things. And that's what we're doing now with our kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you got to go through that first to be able to teach it.
Yeah. So you're 17, working as an AC, your apprenticeship. assuming. You're basically handing off tools and watching what they're doing. When does that go into, oh, this is what I'm going to do? This is going to be my path, my career, or hey, I want to own this. I want to own my own business. Now, how does that translate and what does that look like for the next few years?
So what what gets me and a lot of people hooked on it, right? Paycheck, right? First paycheck at 17 years old, I was getting paid $10 an hour. But when I was working 80 hours a week and I got paid time and a half, and I was coming from Dairy Queen that was making $9 an hour, and I every 2 weeks had a whatever $300 paycheck, and my first paycheck's, time and a half. I'm like, oh, I could use more of this. This is great. I've never seen money like this.
$1,000, what?
Yeah, you're like, I think it was like, I don't know, like 1,100, something like
Yeah.
that. And you're like, for a week, I had to work 2 weeks and make $300. That's crazy. So I got suckered in that way, and I was like, and I'm just starting. And then you hear stories, talk to more people in the industry, and like, yeah, you can make really good money doing this. Then you start to hear what numbers look like, and it's like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's when first couple paychecks, I'm like, great, let's do it. This sucks. It's hard work, but it pays you really well. And this is a career that's not going anywhere. So from that point, the guy that I was working for, he was a hustler. He was an entrepreneur, and he had a very big vision. And so I got to grow with that company from the day I started for the next 7 years, 6, 7 years. And man, it was such a blessing, and I thanked him. I don't know. To this day, I still appreciate it and thank him for the opportunity for giving me.
You were one of his first hires, right?
Yep, me, him, and his other roommate, which I knew at the time as well. So it was the three of us. He was the one that's
What
steering
a
the
cool
ship.
experience
It
from the
was-
ground up, right?
Dude, it was the experience. Like almost half my life I've been doing this in the air conditioning business, right? HVAC. But to see where I started and just who I was working for was a big mentor, because he, like I said, he was a hustler. And so I started in the industry getting, hand tools, and then 6 to 8 months in, usually it takes guys 2 years to get to like a lead level, to be the lead of a crew. And then you're running the installs, and that's where I was installer. Like 6 to 8 months in, he's like, all right, you're on your own. I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But he didn't care. He's like, I'll walk you through it over the phone. Whatever I got to do, I'll come help you. I'm gonna go run these calls, go sell some crap, and then I'll come help you. Whatever. So it was me and the other guy that started. We both don't know nothing, but he put me in charge because I was a little bit more advanced than the other guy, because I knew how to use the tools a little bit better.
Yeah, 10 minutes of experience. He had 5. But
Yeah,
I got it. I got this.
like
He's like, you're
wiring the
stronger.
stuff.
You could lift stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, it was just like, I didn't know any. Like I saw it done a couple times, and then he's like, all right, you're on your own.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And that was nerve-wracking, but I didn't quit. Like I didn't run from it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's figure this out. And that's when we were on jobs for 12, 13, 14, 16, 18-hour days, because what now I could do in probably 4 or 5 hours,
Yeah,
I was doing 18. So I figured out how to cut out, make some hours back. But what would happen was my buddy that was working with me, right, his other roommate, he would go to every day at 3 o'clock. He would go back to work at Bonefish, right? So I'd get left at 3:30 every day, and I'm on. Now it's not two of us that don't know what's going on; it's just me not knowing what the hell is going on. And I'm like, okay, I'll just keep chipping away at it best I can. And it was uncomfortable, because you have homeowners that could tell, they can pick that up. That like, do you know what you're doing? And you're like,
No,
I'm working on it. We'll get you some air by the end of the day. But yeah, I got to start that way, right? And I
Yeah.
learned the hard way. The school of hard knocks was doing it.
Yeah.
So then
Unfortunately, sometimes.
from there, he grew the business, grew the crap out of the business very fast. So I got to learn how he operated, that was the biggest blessing right there, was because the way he operated was so different than anybody else. It was so fast paced, and his vision was just massive. And what he wanted to get after, his parents were hustlers. They were New Yorkers selling watches, and he learned how to be a hustler. And the reason he started that company was he worked for another company that I knew, that I played baseball with his son, and I knew the company. And he was the top sales guy. He was the number one sales. He was just always, he pretty much, ran that company in sales for revenue. And then he went to go ask for partnership, and he said, no, I'm going to pass it down to my kids, my son. So then he's like, all right, well, I'm the license holder. He actually carried the license for the company at the time as well. So he's like, why am I doing this for you if you're not going to give me partnership in the company? I'm going to start my own company. So that's what he did. So that's where that kind of gave you an idea of how he was operating at that age. He was, at that time, he was probably 25-ish, give or take. I was 17. He was, 6 years older than me, give or take. But yeah, from there, he started growing this business, working out of his house. And man, we had his garage filled with air conditioners just from top to bottom. Like, you couldn't we had enough room to park a PT Cruiser in there, and everything from the top to bottom to the sides, the dude had to go like open the garage and crawl through the back of the PT Cruiser just to get into
The
drive.
most Florida car ever is a PT Cruiser.
So if you think about that, a 25 and a 17-year-old running an HVAC company, like nobody in that circle of decisions is fully developed. Like even at 25, like,
No.
and so it just seems like you're falling into you're just falling in with the right people. I mean, regardless of whether he knew what he was doing or not, he clearly had work ethic. And you were 17 watching this, he literally showed a pattern of, hey, this guy my older brother looks like he did it better. I'm going to do that. And I've seen this 25-year-old, like, hey, he looks like he's doing this better. I think I'm going to do that. And just kind of following these guys that are, doing how to make money and what's right.
Yeah. It was definitely, finding, I guess looking back at it now, I was like, I found the successful people of some sort, not knowing it, and I didn't know to look for that. It was just like, well, that makes sense. They're doing pretty well. Let me see what they're doing. And it kind of looks like it's working. I'm going to try the same thing. I'm not going to go down the bad path. I never did drugs, didn't drink at all, in high school and all that. And so I kind of shift myself towards the people that were successful. Looking back at it now, that's kind of exactly what happened. And now, so to back up into that story, as I'm become a lead and so on and so forth, he starts to grow this business, right? First year he's doing, I don't know, $1 million. And then the next year he's at like 5. And then the next year he's at 10. And the next year he's at 15. And the next year he's at 20. Like, he's grown it that fast, that rapid.
Wow.
He's in his 20s.
He's in his 20s doing this. And I'm like, and I'm his right-hand man at the, to an extent, right? I'm learning, but I'm not quitting. I'm showing up every day doing this with him. And that was the blessing. And I think he saw that work ethic in me and knows that I was a pretty smart dude. He didn't care about the books. He wasn't a teacher, right? He just saw, like, this guy's going to help me.
Cheated on your ACT.
He didn't give a crap. He just knew that he had a vision in his head, and I was going to help him be part of that. So he took me under his wing, and I got to watch the company grow that fast, and I got to be a part of it. And he, to this day, I thank him, because I got to see every aspect, every angle of the business of what he was growing without feeling the pain of it, right?
Yeah.
I got to see what he was doing right, what he was doing wrong.
A front row ticket to a business and learn how to do it, watching mistakes be made, but you're not having to deal with the pain and suffering of the financial decision. So at what point you're in that process, and what is your mindset around you're seeing this now? It's like, okay, I want to go do this myself, or what's the next step?
So from there, like I said, for about the first 5 years as he's growing this company, I'm all in. Everything, like, I'm all in for this company, because I was growing and learning so much that I knew at some point I could use that and use it for my own thing. What that looked like, I had no idea until towards the end, but I'll get to that point, because I think there's a lot of meat and potatoes in that helped me get to this point. Was I got to be not only an installer, right? But then he knew, like, who I was and as a person and my work ethic and what I had already done for the company. Was I became the install manager, right? Before, like, in between all this stuff, it was, hey, I need you to be a dispatcher. Okay, cool, whatever, no worries. Hey, I need you to be the service guy. I need you to do the maintenance. I need you to be the sales guy. I need you to be training these guys. I need you to do this. Every aspect of the business, I got to touch on. I got to learn it. And I'm like, that's what I'm super thankful for, because I got to see how every aspect works of the business. And now when I were to hire people, I've done this before. I can't just say, hey, you go do it and expect something out of them. I can tell you how I did it, how it works, and then I can pour into that person, whoever that was, to grow them because now I have a little bit of experience in it. So that was a major thing that I take with me is I got that opportunity to learn every different aspect of the business from top to bottom. And that was, again, super helpful for me to understand. And so at that point, what had happened was when I made that decision that I want to start my own company, it wasn't even at that company quite yet. It was I had taken the testing, all the certifications. He sent me to all these trainings. I went to Dale Carnegie. I went to these. He would fly me out to Kentucky to go through certain certifications. Um, so he was pouring back into me, right? And I was like, heck yeah, whatever. I'm open to anything. Send me wherever you want. I'll go to any training you want. I want to self-educate myself. If you're going to pay for it, even better. So I got to learn a lot, got a lot of certifications. Um, and then at that point, I had the highest certification you could get in the HVAC industry, which is NATE certification, North American Technical of Excellence, right? So that was the highest certification you can get. And the next step from that was your contractor's licensing, down in Florida. And so from there, I was like, well, I feel like I know this stuff pretty dang well. I had no intentions of starting a company at that point, but I was like, I really want to push my knowledge. I think I know a lot about this industry because again, I became the install manager at 21 years old and I was managing 25 guys, 30 guys that all have 15 years of experience and they could run circles around me. But guess what? He trusts me to put me in that position, right? To manage these guys as his right-hand man, watching where it came from 5 years ago up to this point, bought a massive building. And now at this point, he's doing $20 to $22 million in just air conditioning. And I'm the install manager at 21 years old. And I'm like, I don't have any management experience. What do you want me to do? He's like, dude, you're the install manager. Run it. I was like, okay, let's do it. So I pulled all the guys aside and I said, guys, listen, I'm not here to claim I know anything better than you guys. I know this is my world. I've been living in it and I know how this operation works. You guys know a lot more than me. I don't claim that. But I am considered the install manager and we're in this together and I'm on your team. How can I help? How can I serve you guys? Like whatever I can do to help, I'm here. And we're gonna figure it out together. And a lot of people respected that, right? Because I called it how it was. It was just like, guys, I don't know everything. I'm not claiming that. But I am the one that makes these decisions and this is what I have to do. I need your help. And a lot of them, again, older guys look down on as an older guy in this industry that's rough, right? Rough around the edges, air conditioning, it's tough.
Yeah, blue collar is not for
Blue collar is rough around the edge of people. And a lot of Spanish guys as well. Nothing against that, but they have their own way of working. And the language barriers, right? How do you a white dude in charge of these Spanish people? How does that look to them, right? Some people could get offended. I don't know whatever they think, but I'm like, guys, I've been in your shoes. I know what you're going through, and I think how I gained a lot of respect in that way. Was I'd show up on these job sites at 9:00 with them. They're still working. I'm like, guys, I'm here with you. Like, I'll do it with you. I don't care. Like, let's do it. Like
Right.
we're on this team together. I'm not just going to sit at home. And that's where those, 16, 17, 18 hours days came in because I do all my stuff throughout the day and there's still a crew out. I'm not going home until I go make sure that they're good. And when you say there's 12, 13, 14 crews out in a day
That's a
and
lot of people to
somebody
get.
runs into a hiccup, it's like, I'm the manager. That falls on me. I have to
That's
own that.
definition of a leader.
And
And the
that's
chances of a hiccup every day is pretty high when you got that many crews out. So
Yeah,
you're
I
pretty
mean,
much
when
out every day.
you're doing heart surgery on people's houses, right?
Yeah.
You're replacing the air conditioner in the middle of their like in the summertime when it's 130 degrees in these attics. Like it's a mental load, it's a physical load. You're dehydrated. So I understood that, and the guys, I'd show up with some Gatorades, and I was like the lifesaver. I'm like, guys, I'm not here to just give you Gatorades. Like, how can I help? What do you need me to do? Let's rock and roll. Uh, I'm in it with you. So that's when they gained a lot of respect for me, and I
So clearly he knew. I mean, dude, as a 21-year-old, he clearly saw something that,
for sure,
like,
for
that's
sure.
awesome.
But yeah, that was how I got a lot of that respect, and then from that point, it was backtrack a little bit. I got to when I talked about the licensing, right? I had got the highest certification. And I was like, I feel like I know this pretty dang well. Like I don't know what the next step is. I was like, I'm gonna go see if I can pass my contractor's license. Like, what's the worst is I just want to have it under my belt to say I have it because I just want to keep pushing the limit, right? I want to see what I knew and how far I could go to my knowledge. And then come to find out, I go to study for the test. I didn't tell him, just wanted to go do it on my own. Didn't tell anybody. Me and my wife, that's the only person that knew. None of my family, none of my parent, nobody knew besides me and my wife at this time. Um, and so I went and took the test, and then come to find out, it's Pearson View. It was a place where realtors can take their licensing. Every different contractor can take their licensing in this room,
Uh-huh.
and
Small world.
yeah, really small world. And I run into his business partner's nephew, and I know him, right?
Yeah.
I know him. So he's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing here?" Right as I'm about to walk in to take my test, and it's a 6-hour test. There's two
Right.
6-hour tests, open books. It's 18 books that are this thick
Oh
that you
my
have to
Yeah.
know. Like,
For anyone that doesn't
Yeah.
know that's
Yeah.
watching, like the contractor license for Florida is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest in the country.
yeah. So I'm walking this thing with my cart, have 18 books, nervous. I don't know, it's 6-hour test. I couldn't barely make it through high school, right? So now I'm like, this is the hardest thing for me, is to sit down for 6 hours and take a test. I could barely read a paragraph and pass the test to graduate high school. And now 5 years later, 6 years later, I'm here taking this test. Like, that was a big move for me. Um, and then so I walk in and I see him there, and I'm like, I know what this means. He's gonna go, like, the owner's gonna find out. Like, that was my biggest thing. I wasn't gonna do anything with the licensing at that point. I just wanted to do it. And then he goes, "Hey, man, you taking the AC course?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure am." And then sure enough, I got a break in between the 6 hours to go use the restroom, and I checked my phone, like 15 missed calls from the owner. I'm like, he knows exactly what I'm doing now." So I ended up failing that one because I was psyched myself out at that point. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Like, he found out. Am I gonna have a job when I get back?" This like, what does that mean? I was just trying to do it for myself to better myself. Um, so I knew he had found out at that point. Um, so that was a little
So how about
nerve.
so you fail, unfortunately, right? So it sounds like you get yourself psyched out. That
Yep.
doesn't help, right? You're young anyway, and that's hard, man. Because, man, being young, like I still don't necessarily think my brain is turned on yet. But at some point, like I feel like in your late 20s, early 30s, your brain kind of, at least for me, it was like, oh, like you gain some more confidence. You don't quite care what other people think. You get some more confidence in your swagger, and you're able to not care, and stuff like that doesn't affect you. But what's your conversation with when you actually get a hold of him on the phone? What's his conversation like with you?
He says, "Dude, what are you doing?" And, I was like, "Hey, man, yeah, I know I ran into this guy, and I'm sure he informed you, but I was taking my licensing test. I genuinely have no ambitions to go start my own company whatsoever. I just genuinely wanted to push the limits and see what I knew. Like, I've been doing this, and from what you taught me and everything, um, I wanted to just see what the next step looked like, and I felt like I knew I know what I know. So I wanted to take the next step and see what, if I knew enough to get a license, and no intentions of doing anything." And then he's like, "Well, yeah, you and I both know, um, your in-laws are in contracting because they were drywallers and they were in construction for years and years." So he knew my family. Um, so he's like, "Well, come to the office tomorrow. We'll talk about it." And so he ends up taking me out of the install manager role, right? He says, "Hey, I can't have you as install manager anymore. Obviously, you got your licensing. It's going to affect. I know what you're going to do. You're going to start your own company." I'm like, "Dude, no, that's not the truth. I have no intentions of starting my own company." Um, he didn't believe it, because I think now looking back at it, he knew that I had the potential to do it. He didn't tell me that, but I think.
Well, he clearly knew he had potential. I mean, there's no
Right,
way.
he
Like,
put me in these positions to
yeah,
know, like, okay, this guy's everything I give him, he's doing well at it. He's excelling at it. Like, why would he not? It'd be silly for him not to. And I think that's what he saw. I didn't see it at the time.
yeah.
Now looking back at it, that's probably where he went with it. Um, but yeah, at that point, it was he demoted me from install manager, um, and hired my assistant type manager. He was
To take over the role.
Yeah, he took over my role, and then he's like, Go back, be an installer, make a boatload of money so you can start this business." I'm like, "All right, sure, I'll go be an installer. I don't know what I'm gonna do." So I did that for like a month and a half, 2 months, and I actually worked with my brother-in-law at that time. Um, and we were a bad crew. Like, we were bad crew for sure in that area. Like, the quality of work that we put out.
So were you able to make, as a installer with a sales base, were you able to make more money than you did as a manager?
So I was making some more money, as an installer. It was a lot of legwork though. Like I was working, busting my face off in 30-degree attics. It was a
Gotcha.
different work in that I was in the
Different
office all day, and
grind,
then you
yeah.
go take from that to now go back in the field, and it's like you got to adapt to that. It takes a minute to adapt. But at that point, there was a lot of shady stuff going on at the company too, right? Because he was growing so exponentially fast that it ended up. This is the downfall of it, right? Was there was a lot of shady stuff. It wasn't the same person that started the company. At this point, he was just heavy on sales and pushy sales and putting, forging signatures and having his guys forge signatures just to get deals done. And I could see this stuff going on in the office. People were like forging permits and like, you just sign it as the customer. You're the notary, you just sign it. I'm like, that's legal stuff. Like, you don't mess with that. So I never did any of that stuff. I could see it didn't make sense to me, like why people are forging these signatures as notaries and stuff internally in the office for the permitting. So he ended up getting big trouble for the licensing. And at that point, they were starting to deduct money from us as installers for the jobs we did. If we missed one picture or something like that, and he wanted to take money from me for something. And at that point, I just had it. I was like, all right, I'm out. I see too many red flags. The investors, they wanted out, and these are multi-million dollar guys. And like, no, we went out. I'm like, okay, if they went out, that's a red flag for me. Like, so I quit. I walked out and I called my brother and I said, hey, you got to roll. Don't let him stop you. He's a hell of a sales guy, right? So he's going to persuade you to stay. Let's get out. So we got in our trucks and we split ways, went around the building one way, and he got caught. He stopped in front of his truck and I came around the backside because I knew it was going to happen. He was going to stop him and try and convince him to stay. But I said, no, man, there's too much that's been going on. I'll return the truck later. If you want to talk, I'm going to clear all my tools out. I'll be back and we can talk then. Showed up, dropped the truck off, wasn't there. I'm like, okay, I know where we stand. And there was a lot of in-between stuff, a lot of details that were missed. But to tie into that, what really pushed me over the edge was I had told him about a vacation, right? Because my mom now lived out in Colorado. She remarried. And we would go out there every year just for a trip. And I told him at least a year in advance, be like, hey, I'm going here at this date. And I remind him, hey, I'm going, remember this time I'm gone. Hey, remember this time I'm gone. All the way up to it in 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, reminding him, all right, cool. And then the week before he goes, dude, you can't go. I'm like, dude, I've been telling you about this for the last year. I've had this on the schedule. Like, what do you mean I can't go? He goes, dude, we're way too busy. I need you here. You have to stay. And I'm like, 21 years old. I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to lose my job because of this. And this was when I was still the install manager. And so I had the flights paid for, everything was done because I told him way in advance. And then the week before he goes, dude, you can't go. And I'm like, I already have my flights paid for, like everything's already set. And I should have said no. But at that point, again, 21 years old, I didn't. I knew the company needed me. I knew my guys needed me that bad. So he said, dude, you can't go. And I said, I got to go something. So I was supposed to go like for a whole week. And I ended up just going for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday. And he didn't pay for my flights to reimburse me of any sort. And I was like, okay, now I know where we stand. And that was the vacation where he's like, no, you can't go. And I think that right there was like, okay, that's the last straw. And then from there, I ended up walking out and went to work for the competitor down the road. And I knew them, and they were always competing back and forth. Their employees would go back and forth from different jobs, and it was just it was cool to see. Not cool, but
just funny.
Yeah, right? Funny to watch it. And then what ended up happening is the state attorney was after his butt for the last year and a half. So they came knocking on his door and took everything, shut him down. If he would have been charged with everything, he would have had like 137 years or something for fraudulent charges. And that's what they were chasing him down with.
So when you say fraudulent charges, like he was signing, was it in relation to the permit stuff, or was it in relation to, like, was he forging client signatures to be able to charge credit cards?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so financing, he's just like he had these guys going into the houses. It's like, "Hey, we're here to do a maintenance, and then just sign here." And the next thing you know, there's a crew coming in to change out the whole air conditioning system. And they had no idea what they signed for, these elderly
Gosh.
people.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're like, "Oh,
That area.
I'm
Yeah.
getting a new air condi," and then they hit him with the bill and then put a lien on the house and like, "You owe me
Oh,
money."
man.
And I'm like,
Oh,
That's
no.
wild.
"This is not good."
Yeah.
So that all went down, um, along with the permitting, along
Yeah.
with all this stuff that was, fraudulent. And, yeah, so state attorney came in, swarmed his office with probably 25, 30 different cop cars, FBI, whatever. And the state attorney was after his butt and pinning him to it. So he had to go through that for, needless to say, the company shut down at that point. I had gotten out right before all that went down, as a blessing, worked for this other company. And, yeah, it was bad for him at
So
that point.
what's your relationship like with him still? Do you still talk to him at all or have any sort of relationship with him?
Very little. I'm in a couple Facebook groups that he's in as well. But what ended up happening was I knew him and he knew me for so long as kids growing up and then working with him for so long. I saw him at the gym after that, after all that went down, maybe 6 to 8 months later. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't have any good words to say. Like, what is it? Don't bring me into this because I had a lot of my hands in everything as the install manager. I was moving around doing the permitting stuff, and so he comes up to me and he says, "Hey man, I kind of need to know where you're at." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He goes, what side are you on? You on my side or you gonna go against me?" I said, "Dude, keep me out of it. I know a lot of stuff, and I have nothing. I have to speak the truth. And if you put me in front of a board and you bring this to me in legal, I'm gonna say the truth and nothing but the truth. So take that how you want. I would advise you don't drag me into this. Keep my name out of everything, um, and I'll keep my mouth shut. I won't say nothing. But if you do bring me into it, I'm gonna speak the truth, and I know a lot of crap." So he left me out of it, and there was 9 people that ended up getting arrested. They went down, him included, and they're all sitting in a jail cell, and they're like, they wanted to beat his butt because it was male, female, whoever was associated with the fraudulent stuff in the office, the sales guys, the technicians whose names were on these things as well, and he kept me out of it. And so that was kind of the relationship, not relationship, that was kind of the last conversation I had with him. Um, but yeah, he got a lot of people jammed up, um, in that whole interaction.
How much time did he end up doing over
None.
it all?
None.
They booked him and released him and then
Yeah. I mean, he's still probably dealing with a lot of the fees and stuff today. But yeah, he was able to.
is he still running an HVAC
No,
business? Oh, okay.
no.
I'm like,
He's
they don't allow that?
no.
Yeah. Okay.
So at one point, do you decide, hey, I'm going to start and do my own deal?
So at that point, when I went to go work for this other company, right, I had the licensing at that time because I went and took the test back again. I got the license, and I had it the whole time. And I went to go work for this other company because I learned how to operate really well under this, the first company. What I wasn't taught was the numbers. Nobody taught me the numbers of anything. It was just wild, wild west. The first time it was go, go,
Gotcha.
go, go, go.
So you didn't understand CAG or
Heck no.
anything?
Neither did he.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is that's what drowned the company, was he didn't know he could just sell like a maniac.
Yeah.
And he had guys that could sell, but you could tell him what his gross profit was, he couldn't tell you, right? It just, so it was wild, wild west. So I learned how to operate really, really well, in that mess. But then I went to this other company, and that's where they were more structured. They learned the numbers, and that's where I learned the numbers. So I was there for about a year. I went to this company, and they're like, we pay all of our guys, all of our managers. I was hired on as the install manager or assistant install manager, going to replace the install manager. He was going to be a GM at another location. So I went in as the assistant install manager, took a $50,000 pay cut right there because I was making $100K at this first company, right? I was able to negotiate myself at 21 years old to make $100K, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's money in this business. Like, why should I not start my own? But then I went to this next company, and I was able to negotiate a $100,000 salary as well. And the owner of the company, he's like, you realize that nobody in the company makes this type of money, right? They've structured off of bonuses, right? They get a base salary and then their bonuses off of their performance. And I'm like, I don't care. That's not how I operate. I'm going to give you my best foot forward every single day. And if you think I'm not, call me out on it and we'll renegotiate. But I can put myself behind it that this is my salary. This is what I know I have to make. I don't care about bonuses. I'm not going to put my payment on other people's what their actions, right? It's not fair to me. My work should be based off of my performance, not somebody else's. So either way, I was able to negotiate that. And then at that point, like 3 weeks later, the GM comes to me. He goes, just curious, like, why haven't you started your own company? And I said, I don't know. You're absolutely right. I don't know. And then from there,
That's
I didn't even tell my wife. She had no idea I was going to start a company. I blindsided the crap out of her. So to put that into to paraphrase is how I knew I was going to start my own company. At that point, I was like, "You're right. I know I can go get a job anywhere in this industry and make $100K. I've done it twice already. Why would I not do it for myself?" And coming up to this point, when he asked me that question, it triggered me to be like, "You're right. I need to, and I will." So didn't have this conversation with my wife. I had the licensing at this point, and we were going through IVF, right, for our first kid. This was about a 3-year journey, and we're going through this. She had just lost her mom that same year in 2019. My wife did, and she was, we lost my mother-in-law. She lost her mom, and now we're just starting IVF, right? And I hit her with, "I just quit my job. I'm starting my own company." And she had no idea. She goes, "What?" And I said, "I just quit my job. I'm starting my own company." And she goes, hold on. What? And yeah, from there, that's when I made that decision. I had gone through way too much, and I knew that I could make
Yeah,
$100,000
you knew you could do it.
anywhere. I could go to any company at that point because those were the two biggest companies in the area that I was able to negotiate 100.
So
So
you
I knew at that point I had value, right? I knew what I knew, and I knew that I had the knowledge. And why would these people be willing to pay me $100,000 at a blink? It's because I had something that was valuable. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Worst case scenario for you is you go and fail and go get a job for 100K again.
100%. And that's what
You're just like,
I laid on. Right? It was like, I would be silly not to do this. I have the license. Everything's in the palm of my hand. The only thing that's stopping is me. So that's when I made that decision. I can work anywhere and make the same money.
when the GM came and talked with, so was the GM the same person that you negotiated the salary with the first time?
He was.
Okay.
He was.
And so then you negotiate the salary, and then he just comes to you and is like, "Hey man, what's the deal? Why haven't I done this?" So was it, I mean, it sounds like he's a good guy because he clearly recognizes, was he trying to encourage you, or was he just curious and it just ended up sparking it, or what was his
I
reasoning?
think he was a little bit of both. He's a very intelligent GM, and I still talk to him frequently this day. He ran his own business. He knew what the signs look like, and he's like, dude, it doesn't make sense. Like you're crushing it. You're making it look so easy. Again, I'm running another 15 crews at this company, the very same size, but now it's plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning. I'm heading up the air conditioning side of it, and he sees it. And he's like, why have you not done this? Like, almost curious of genuinely why I'm not doing it. I have the license at this time. I'm running his show, and there was 2 install managers that in that company, and I was one of them. So I guess it kind of sparked curiosity. It came from curiosity, but it made me think, and I'm like, why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
And that's when I made that decision. Just go.
So your wife gets over the shock, and then is she like, "Okay, let's do this," or I mean, did she push back a little bit more, or was it pretty much like, "Okay, I trust you, go for it"? Like, what'd she end up doing?
I think I'm trying to remember. I knew we went to a Red Robin right after, and we went to eat lunch, and she goes, "What is going on?" And I said, "I have a license. Like I know what I know. I was able to do this. I don't want to look back and say I wish I would have done this sooner." You hear it so often from the older people, the wisdom, and again, looking back, and as we were talking about this, it made me think like I always followed that successful person, right? Whoever that was, I was just kind of lean towards them as like, hey, what are they doing? And I want to do more of that as well. That's kind of what it tied into, is like, I got to do this. I know what I know. I'm gonna do this. And she kind of stood behind it, because at that point she didn't trust me in that sense, because she's like, you can't. The first time I asked for the 100,000 with the first company, she's like, you can't go in. That's way too much. Da, da, da. I said, says who? So I went and asked, and I got it. And I told her, she's like, "Oh, okay. Maybe you are worth it." Like, she didn't
Yeah, she doesn't
know
know.
to that extent.
Yeah.
And then I did it again, and I said, "Hey, I got 100, this is the salary now." She goes, "Wow, okay." So then when I hit her with that, I use that as kinda the leverage point. Is like, I could always go back and find a job doing the same stuff. They'll take me back, the company that am
Yeah.
leaving, or I'll go find a job somewhere else. I've done it twice already. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I have to go back and do it again. I don't wanna look back and say, "I wish I would have done this sooner." So from there, she was obviously very nervous,
Yeah,
about the
for sure.
situation, but,
I mean, I can relate to that, man. Our reason I shifted to my own business was that exact reason. Because at the end of the day, I sat and I look and I think, it's like, if 5 years from now, I don't do this, what am I going to think? Am I going to be in the same spot looking back at this point and being, man, I wish I would have done that? And now I'm 5 years later and I haven't done it yet. Or am I going to be 5 years from now looking back thinking, like, it was either one, the worst decision I ever made, and I figured it out by then and I fixed it, or it was the best decision I ever made. And
yeah.
so,
Yeah, that was, and from there, I started Optimum Air, and that was the name of that company, and ran that best I could. No business experience, just the experience of doing air conditioning, and got to see how this guy did one thing, the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, stay away from that, don't do that. This looked really good, do more of this. And it was boots on the ground, go. So the first year I did everything myself. I had my brother come help me, oldest brother, come help me put the installs in. I'd run all the service, sales. I'd be doing the numbers at the end of the day. My wife was helping a little bit. She still had a job at that point.
yeah.
Um,
What were you able to make that first year of business?
the first year in business, I think I did 400K, and I was able to pay myself 70. So I'm like, okay, that's not bad. I was just left, 50,
So
negotiate
you were
100.
leaving 100 and, or sorry, you were leaving 300, or no, two, yeah, 320,000, 330,000 in the business
Yeah.
as operating cash.
Yep.
Okay.
So there,
Taking a small side.
obviously, I was enough. It was enough. That was just, what I was paying myself. She was still working, no kids at the time,
Yeah.
and we were able to manage that. And so then next year, again, started getting some employees. I was like, hey, I can't do this all on my own. Let me hire some install guys. They'll put in the work. I'll go sell it, do the service, and these guys do the legwork completely, and we'll make it happen. And I always paid my guys top dollar, like, because I knew what motivated people down in that area, and still to this day, that's money motivates a lot of people. So paid them very well. Got a heck of a crew together. And then the next year we did, I think, 800,000. So doubled that. Year two, people knew who I was from being born and raised in the area and family and so on. So
Network,
again,
national network.
yeah, I didn't have to advertise a whole lot. It was all word of mouth. So that saved me a lot of money. And then year 3, 4, and 5 was when we broke a million year over year. I think it was 1.1, 1.3, then 1.5, 1.4 or 5. And yeah, I did it all out of my house. I didn't have an office. I kept it very lean because I learned how to operate that way. And I just kept it very lean, put it all back into the business. But then towards the end of it, we started paying ourselves pretty dang well. Cliff notes, and then I ended up selling it to move out here. But along that way, the Optimum way, it was all about passion. And there was 2,000 contractors just in a 15-mile radius, 20-mile radius, because again, you have the Gulf and then the Everglades, super saturated. So in the state of Florida, one license holder can qualify up to three licenses per one license for AC. So there was so many not unlicensed, but contractors that didn't even take the test. They just rented out, and now they're ready to go. Start an LLC and don't have to know anything about business or air conditioning. If they got the license, they're eligible. So it's super saturated, and
Yeah.
what that did was drive costs down. When you're bidding a job, and
Competition.
yeah,
Race to
you
the
got
bottom.
guys that come over from Miami and they'll do it for beer money on the weekend. It's hard to compete against, but you had to value. I had to figure out how to value myself and the quality of work. And when I left that, I had nothing but 5-star reviews. I think I exited with 350 5-star reviews and nothing less. And to me, I took a lot of pride in that because that
Yeah,
reflects
that's
who I
something
was.
No joke.
to be proud of.
Yeah, and
Because I would imagine along that way, there was probably some 1-star reviews that made it on there. and you had to go back. I mean, at least that's my experience, right? It's impossible to be unscathed on Google. So if you see people with 5, it's because there is a concerted effort of why, okay, call that person. What happened? How do I make it right? And you have to bend over backwards. Like, okay, I'll do that. That's awesome. But I need you to go back and change this review. I need you to do this. Like, will you do that? And so there's your ability to problem solve and battle that.
Yeah, and a handful of times it happened out of my control. Guys did something and pissed whatever customer off, but I'd stop immediately what I was doing. Didn't care what it was. I'm going straight to that customer's house. Hey, tell me what happened. Like, where did we fall short? How did we, bare minimum, tell me what we did wrong so I know not to make the same mistake again. And it would mean the world to me if you could remove this review, because it kills us as a small business. That's not my intention. That was never our purpose. I understand mistakes happen, and I hope you can understand that as well. That's genuinely, we want to do well, and people had no problem removing it because you made it right. You took that action immediately. It wasn't drag it on. It was address it immediately. And I took a lot of pride in that, because I would constantly search people in my area, contractors, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9, but nobody had 5.0. So that meant a lot to me, was to be that only one in the area that had that 5-star standard. And that's just kind of reflects who I am. That's just the standard that I hold, is I want to be the best of the best. If I don't know something, I don't know something. I want to learn from it and grow from it. But yeah, that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of Optimum, the air conditioning company.
So do you have a partner in it at all? Was it totally yours?
That one was all me, 100% me and my wife.
And you completely sold it off when you left?
I retained 15% when I did sell it. We sold it off to Bryce, my business partner out here now, and then one other guy. He was an electrician. He has an electrical company, and I knew him. I worked with him at the second company. Went to church with him and stuff, and it was I knew he was going to get into it, and me and my wife were honestly praying about, like, hey, how do we find a way out? Like, not that anything was wrong. There was just a different calling on our heart that God put on it, and said, hey, you guys need to do more. Like, you're going to be stuck in this box down here in Southwest Florida. There's more for you guys to do. I didn't build you guys and, want you guys to just sit in this area. There's other people that you need to connect with and share your knowledge and meet new people. And what that looked like, no idea. But it was a faith move. It was 100% faith in the way that everything lined up to be able to sell the company in a matter of, I think, 6 months from the conversation. Leading up to that, me and my wife were praying about it. It's like, what does that look like? Can we hire a GM to run this thing, and we move to different states, and what does that look like? Do we sell it? We're not, we didn't build it to sell it. It wasn't the purpose of it. And then we were approached by them, and they said, hey, we're going to be, we want to buy your company. And I said, that's crazy, because we've just been praying on how the heck do we,
Get out of
what
here.
do we do?
What are we doing? That's great.
And so it was just the timing and everything that lined up.
What do HVACs usually sell for a multiplier?
You can get 12, 15. I think I ended up getting 9.
Okay.
9x,
And
8 or 9x.
I'm assuming I'm imagining it's based on a lot of your maintenance programs are probably pretty high dollar value, because it's a return of the.
A lot of the how many customers you have, right? Because it's building fences around these people's houses. What are people buying if they don't have contracts?
Yeah.
They're not customers. They're just people that call you when they need you.
Yeah.
Not actively customers. And that was a lot of, obviously the revenue, what we were doing, our margins and stuff, when, keeping the overhead super low, not spending a whole lot on advertising, doing 1.1, 1.5. At that point when we sold, it was about 1.5. And we were paying ourselves almost $300K between me and my wife at the end of the day, and the company was still netting 16%. It's like 15, 16%. So it's like, obviously we were doing something right.
Yeah, for sure.
Didn't know what it was exactly, like to a T, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I just was doing the best I could. And coming to find out, we were doing pretty dang good compared to a lot of companies were doing or are doing to this date. But it was just naturally there. When I said early on that everything I did or do, I'm just good at, that was where I'm like, okay, this is my purpose, because
and that's key. Like, you found something that you're good at, and you have passion behind it, it becomes much easier to do. It's not as hard, even though it's hard. It's doesn't change the hard work. Like, you got to do 100 push-ups, it's 100 push-ups. But if you like doing push-ups, you can get through it. Or you hate them or you hate to run, you find a job that you love to do. It makes it way easier to excel at it because you find enjoyment in the work, find enjoyment of what you're doing.
Yeah, it was serving people, man. When people need you at their worst, it's 100 degrees in their house and they're dying. I need somebody now, and you get to go save the day. You're like, hey, this is what I do, man. Like, I'm here to help, here to serve.
Better than being a firefighter, right?
Yeah, true. Maybe, I guess. Depends on how you want to slice that.
Yeah.
You guys, so we know a little bit because we cheated and interviewed your business partner already, and so we know a little bit kind of, well, he had some nefarious plans having you guys come out here and visit, hoping that you guys are going to be swayed to maybe come out here and live. But so it sounds like during that time, like you guys knew you wanted to leave, you're trying to figure it out. You guys had taken a trip out here to Texas, looked around, realized that, hey, I think we like it out here, and then this happens. So what does that discussion and that time frame look like between you and Chandler? Are you guys already talking about it? Hey, come out here, we'll start another business. Like, what is that? Because he's buying into your old business. Like, how does that conversation go down?
So that's kind of how it got framed. Was
sorry, yeah, Bryce.
Bryce, Bryce is business partner.
Yeah,
so he again, we knew him. I knew him for the last decade. Me, my wife, and his wife all went to high school together. My wife and his wife were a year younger than me, but we were same school. They approached us, right? He's a business partner in this other electrical company. He approaches us and says, hey, what are your thoughts on selling your company, right, to us? And that's kind of the conversation of when we were, what are we doing here? Like, what can we do? Where should we go? And then he had some stuff going down, and he ended up moving out to Texas. And we came out for an event, a conference, HVAC conference. And I didn't need a whole lot of convincing. Right, you didn't have to. I didn't care where it was. I just knew I needed something new because that was the calling that I had.
Sure.
And I knew he had it played in his head. Now, looking back at it, what his plans were. But yeah, we came out, visited, and we're like, "Cool, this is a spot. We'll make it work here." Like, there wasn't anything like, "Well, what about this?" or "What about?" There wasn't any worries. It was just all a faith jump.
I guess there's not a lot of difference. There's no ocean quite as close as Florida, but the climate's pretty much the same. It's
right,
hot and humid.
So that was another thing. I was like, okay, well, if I do move, it's got to be somewhere that's hot because I know air conditioning pretty well. Texas is pretty good.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So we made that decision. We just said, all right, that's it. And as I was going through, selling the business, all the paperwork and stuff, we had also an investment property that we bought it after a big hurricane came through. So that had to be completely gutted and fixed up. So I did all that work myself, all the plumbing, all the everything with it. It was a modular home. So I was trying to fix all that up, sell the business in a 6-month time frame, just to be able to pick up and leave. So it was a pretty hectic 6 months, for sure. It was tiring. It was a lot, but it was worth it. But yeah, because it didn't take a whole lot of convincing to get us out to Texas. It was, okay, all this stuff's happening. It's happening for a reason. God's aligning it, putting it in place. And I didn't know where I was moving. As long as I knew I had a roof, I had no idea what the house looked like because I was so busy, doing all the other stuff down there, tying the loose ends up. Got out here and I was like, all right, it's real. So then from there, I just hit the ground running, studying for the license out here. No job, no nothing for the first 3 months. Studied for the test, took the licensing, went and got the license for out here in Texas. Then it was Go Dare started. So the talking points were like, hey man, when you come out here, like, let's start an air conditioning company together. Because he knew we were friends before there. He knew what I did. He knew the numbers. He saw the numbers, what I was doing, right? Because he had bought the company from me, him and his other business partner. So he's like, I'm assuming he's like, okay, this guy's got something. Yeah. Let's do work together. And I knew for a long time deep down, like I always wanted to work with him because I knew how intelligent he was with his business. And I saw him start his business from nothing and grow it to where it was growing, same time frame as me. Because we always were friends. We were always, going to dinners and stuff together. And I was like, man, I'd love to figure out a way to work with him one day, some way, somehow. Didn't know what that looked like. And then now this opportunity comes in. I'm like, heck yeah, we're going to crush
Yeah, but
this
what a
thing.
compliment. He comes in and buys your company and then is like, I would have started another company with you.
Yeah.
Like, that just attests to what you
It's
did.
huge because to me, it's like, I didn't know exactly what I was doing when I was building this company. I was just working, doing my best, put my best foot forward every day, attacking it and doing it again and again and again, and trying to be the best version of it. And then building it well enough that somebody wanted to come buy it from me for the amount. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I got something.
Right.
Like, and that was kind of along the whole way. So I always knew I had something, but it was never like clear. And then when I was able to sell that company unintentionally, like I didn't build it to sell and no intentions of selling it. And then just the way it was operating, the way I set it up and structured it, was that good enough to sell and still net 15, 16% and pay, run the expenses like every business owner does, their own small company, personal expenses. We ended up paying ourselves about $300K for the last 2 years. And it's like, dang, okay, I really got something here. Like I have a lot of knowledge in this field. I'm pretty dang good at it. It comes naturally now is what it feels like. But yeah, it didn't take a whole lot of convincing to get us out. I knew at that point when they wanted to, I was able to sell that company for the amount that we did, 7 figures. I was like, all right, yeah, we're gonna do another one. It's gonna be
Do it
a
all
lot
over again.
faster and a lot bigger and a lot better.
And now you have, someone like Bryce that has the analytical side of the efficiency. Like it's I don't know what to call it. It's the superfood for your business, I guess it sounds like. You already have that, but he's got another edge to it. And it sounds like you two together are going to do just fine. Well, already, right? It's only been a year and you guys are already at a multiple 7-figure gross income on the business. And it doesn't sound like it's going to slow down.
No intentions of slowing down whatsoever. This is just
in a year,
scratch.
figure, you duplicated it. What you said, you more or less did 4 years of work in 1 year.
Yeah. So what it took me personally to get to that, 1.4, 1.5, we did, right about $1 million last year in the last full 12 months. And again, I moved out here not knowing anybody, a single person besides him, not knowing where the heck I was driving, what
What
the
a better
units
place
looked
to
like.
move to.
Like,
That was the
yeah.
hard, so I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. And I moved down to Texas for a law enforcement job, and then I came up here and started working in the roofing industry, and that was the hardest thing for me because I had no network to pull from, and to create it from scratch is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like you gotta go meet you're meeting one person and you're hoping to make a good impression, and you're just constantly grinding. And Taylor's grown up here his whole life. He just knows a wealth of people, and it's such an advantage, and it's an awesome thing to, like, we joke all the time, if big storms ever to hit Salt Lake, I'd be back there in a heartbeat just because I know so many people. I could fall into business just by getting off an airplane in a bad storm and have just endless, just because I know all the people. But it's awesome that you're able to come here and overcome that.
Yeah. So we do this segment every episode. Every episode we started 2 episodes ago.
Every episode.
Called 15 Minutes to Success.
Okay.
And through your eyes as an entrepreneur, what can you tell other entrepreneurs in 15 minutes to success?
Okay. 15 minutes to success. You got to be willing to put in the work, right? It's everybody knows it's gonna be hard. They don't understand how hard. And I think people underestimate, but it doesn't stop. Like it genuinely doesn't stop. Whether it's networking, you gotta know people, you gotta meet people, you gotta show people who you are, and you gotta care. At the end of the day, you have to give a crap about what you do and who your company, what you're building, whatever it is all ties back to you, and it reflects who you are. From a business standpoint, it's what I've learned is a lot of processes have to be written, right? If you don't have clear expectations for you, yourself, your team, whoever it is, your customers, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to manage. Knowing your numbers is another big one. So a lot of people, from my understanding, don't understand is their numbers. 15 minutes of this is there's a lot to unravel there.
Well,
but
so when you say know your numbers, I would imagine that, like, what's the average SEER size of a unit you're selling right now? Like 18 SEERs? How
16 is
16?
yeah, about average.
So a 16 SEER unit, you probably know the labor, the materials, everything. So you could probably on the back of your hand, yeah, no problem, I know. So you know your numbers down to the core, and you know what it needs to be sold for. Is it more than that? Like what else goes into, is there operating costs that you're adding into it? Like what numbers do you take into account to know that when your tech shows up and sells that job, that you're profitable, not losing money?
I guess to answer that, it's a lot of, I figured out how to reverse engineer a lot of stuff. Like, hey, if this equipment costs us, or we need to make this margins, you got to reverse engineer what that looks like. What does it cost to run a truck? What does it cost to turn the key? What does it cost to get that guy in a truck? Right? Because knowing your ad spend, your marketing cost, the vehicle costs on that gas to get that, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, down to the hour, really. What's my guy's hourly rate? That comes up with your service call fee, right? Is what does it take for me to get my guy out there? That you can go super, super in depth with the numbers, but it's really the KPIs. What are you tracking and what's going to move the needle? That's a big one. And I'm probably not the guy to go in depth with how to get there. That's a Bryce question because he's the numbers guy. But from the business standpoint, it's if you give a crap and you genuinely care about what you're doing and you want to do good work, no matter what you do, you'll find a way. There's always a way when you care about people, regardless of like business or not. If you see somebody struggling, go help them. Like it comes down to who you are as a person. You got to be a good person, in my opinion. But from a business standpoint, the numbers are huge. That helps you. It's the data. I always tell my guys, the man with the most information wins. And I was told that coming up, right? The man with the most information wins. Male, female, doesn't matter. But that was the analogy, was the man with the most information wins, because it's so true. Is the more data you have, the more you can analyze and make a smarter decision, right? On anything and everything in a business. If you only know, hey, this equipment costs me $5,000 and you want to mark it up and sell it for this, well, no, there's a lot more that goes into that, right? What does it take to get that truck out? How much expenses do you have on that truck? How often are you having to repair this thing, right? How much are you spending on marketing to get that phone to ring to even get out to that house, right? There's so much that goes into it. I can only talk on the air conditioning side because that's what I've known forever. But I feel super confident I can go into any business, selling anything there is, and understand how to make a profit in that business, because it's the concepts of the business. They don't really change. Just the products and the data changes a little bit, but it's the concept is still there.
Keep it stupid simple.
Keep it, kiss it.
Yeah.
So you talked about this a little bit because Florida was super saturated, right? And you talked about providing value, like going in, and clearly if you care about it, that's going to provide value. Is there any lesson in particular into providing value and overcoming that? Because you have your costs, you're aware. How are you going into a homeowner and providing that value? What is your definition of value to the customer?
Always providing more than what's expected. I think to me, that's value. And I'm always trying to figure out ways to add more value. I don't ever like selling down to the bottom line, because you're competing with everybody else. I'm going to sell up, right? Because it makes so much more sense that way. If I can sell up, I can build more value for that customer, whether it's true actual value or perceived value, what they think, they perceive it as value. So there's a handful of things that are low cost for us that I just include on jobs. Like, I'm going to throw it in and sweeten that deal for that customer, because now it's even more valuable for them, even though you're like, so for equipment, right? Say we're all in a room and we all, go to this customer's house and they're looking for a quote on an air conditioner. I had to figure out early on that I needed an edge. I needed to figure out how to get it. I don't want to just go and compete with 10-year parts, 1-year labor, 10-year parts, 1-year labor, or 10-year parts, 10-year labor, 10-year parts, 10-year labor. I got in and they recognized me early on, these manufacturers, these supply houses, and they're like, hey, how you operate and how honest and stuff you are with us, and you're always here to help us out. we want to make you an elite dealer. This isn't something you just get to do. We have to, handpick these people to become an elite dealer. When you become an elite dealer, that means you get 2 extra years on your warranty, right? So now if I saw that as an opportunity, I'm like, great, just for being the person I am, a good, genuine good person, how to run and, caring about their people. I was able to compete. Now I have 12-year parts, and now there's a third party that has labor warranties. So now I'm 12-year parts, 12-year labor, and you're still competing in 1-year part or 10-year parts, 10-year labor, 10-year parts, 10-year labor, 12-year parts, 12-year labor, and I'm still in the same price range. What's more valuable? The 2 extra years, and that's also fully transferable to the next homeowner. That's a pretty sweet deal. And then on top of that, when people are just throwing the boxes out there, right, selling the boxes, the equipment, I'm going to say, listen, I'm going to throw in a surge protector. I'm going to throw in a UV system sterilizer, right? It's going to help kill all this stuff and add on these little things that cost very, very minuscule amount. But to the
Perceived
customer, the
value.
value is like, now you're not even in the same ballpark, because now my list is this long and everybody else's list is this long, and you're only, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 more. Like, there's a lot more value in that. So I'm going to try and sell up versus go back down and compete with everybody else. I want to blow them out of the water, right? That's just my
Which is,
vision.
that's a fantastic. I mean, it goes back to your education, right? Clearly, every time, multiple times it's come up. You're like, hey, I want to earn more. I want to learn more, so that I can push myself. And I mean, that's an awesome tidbit for people that are running HVAC companies that may not know that you can become an elite dealer. There's other special certifications out there that will give you a leg up, and it sounds like it's education. I mean, it's just you're learning things, and now you have something that's of more value just because you're put a little more hard work, and
Yeah.
and it paid off.
And part of that 15 minutes of business is you got to invest in yourself. The best investment is yourself. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on self-education, personal development, whether it was business, whether it was for myself, because if you're not growing, you're not learning. And there's a core value that we had at the first company was called Kaizen, and it was continuing learning, I believe is what it's called, or constantly learning, right? You never want to stop learning, because if you stop learning, you're going to die, right?
So Kaizen's actually a Japanese term.
It is. Do you know the
And I do. And it's so the Japanese believe that through meticulous repetition, day in and day out, that you can transform something simple into something great. And so, it's kind of the philosophy of being able to more or less start at nothing, but because you are disciplined every day. And it's the Japanese culture, right? Everything's handmade. It's very meticulous. They take very pride in what they do. And if you have that same mindset, it's just the art of mastery, of becoming your master. And if you become a master at what you do, that you will be great. And it's very true. I mean, in any profession, you become amazing at HVAC, you become amazing at roofing, at anything. There's some jujitsu guys that talk about this specifically, that believe that more or less in 5 years, that anybody that dedicates themselves truly and has natural ability as well, if they're able to dedicate themselves for a short amount of time, that you can pretty much within 5 years become as great as the top of any industry. Meaning someone that with the will and the ability to learn could come into a HVAC business, and within 5 years, if they really study themselves, can excel and not necessarily be the best, but can for sure compete at that level. And I have found that to be true in the job fields that I've been in. At 5 years, you should be pretty proficient in what you do. And those who choose to push excel at it.
So for all the people listening out there, tell them how they can get a hold of you, how to get in contact with you if they want to use your services.
So our services, it's goatairtx.com. That's our website. Our office line is 940-477-8333. Call me, text me. That's our office line. I'm not sure if I can give my personal number on here, if I should.
I don't know.
No,
I don't
we'll
think we're
put
that
your
far.
links
We'll
to your
put all your
links,
changes
stuff.
and
whatever.
all that stuff. They can message
Although
you.
Yeah.
I do have to bring out, so we didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but you guys do something that's unique. So
Oh, yeah, we
that we
gotta
talked
bring
to
this up.
Chandler about the goat. And
Bryce.
or
You
sorry,
talked to
I keep
Bryce.
calling I
I
apologize,
mean,
Chandler.
we
I'm
do get
talking to
almost
Chandler.
almost every day. We are you guys brothers?
Well, I
Who's
kept
that?
reading your guys' stuff back and forth, and I just keep getting you guys. I know I'm interviewing you right now. So talked with Bryce about some of this, and I kind of am razzing you guys about it. But part of what you guys do is you donate. Part of what I guess kind of a newer thing that you were going to do is that as people donate, and you take some of the profits of what you do, and you go and buy a goat for farmers in third world countries or wherever they're at, and for people that don't understand there are parts of the world that still that is a life-changing thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic and very unique marketing deal, and I think it's awesome, and I hope you guys push it. But if hopefully people will message you and reach out and push you guys to do it, so that you guys, I really think that you guys need to push that. I think it's an awesome thing that you're doing to be able to give back to society, and it happens to fit with your business model and the name. So I think it's great.
Yeah. Just to touch on that a little bit, it's Convoy of Hope who we've partnered with. And they go, natural disasters happen. They're there to bring support and so on, in the United States and outside third world countries. But for the goat part of it, they target more of third world countries, Asia, Africa, places that are at the end of the world, and then you take a left. That's where these people are in poverty. Their kids are being sold for slaves, and they don't know when their next meal's coming. So the whole idea is every install that we do, we donate a goat to Convoy Hope, and it just happens to be goats. That's what they give, because they can, make small businesses with these things, whether it's goat milk, and they can make soaps, and Convoy Hope has the team that goes in and they implement this stuff, and it's not just to be right now for here for 5 years. It's to be sustainable and build these small micro businesses for these, mainly women and kids that are in poverty, that they have nothing, and then this helps them see a way to have a different life than what they're living right now. And I don't know, it's how do you change the world, and thinking that big, and the amount of, I don't know the numbers, but they're feeding hundreds of thousands of kids a day.
Just from that.
Just from the whole Convoy of Hope thing, and this is the goat part of it, is the agriculture part of it. But yeah, we haven't talked a whole lot about it because it's more for us, but we do want to share that message. We just haven't put it down yet. Yeah, but
It's out there now.
It's out
there. It's out there.
Keep going.
Well, to sign off, tell everyone what GOAT stands for.
GOAT stands for God over all things. I'm a believer. Again, I wouldn't be in this place. I've been blessed with so many different talents. Everything I do, I give it to God. And that I don't shy away from that. I'm unapologetical about that, because that's what I believe. And nobody's going to take that from me. And I was raised in the church, and I'm going to teach my kids that. And everybody that comes in contact with us knows that, hey, these guys are religious and Christians, and they're going to stand behind that, and take it or leave it. Doesn't really matter to me. I know where I stand with it, and that's really all that matters. But yeah, God over all things is what GOAT stands for.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
A quick, honest request. This podcast doesn't have sponsors. There's nothing we're selling. No ad you skipped. We pay for everything ourselves. If this was worth your time, the smallest thing you can do is hit subscribe. Takes 1 second, costs nothing. That's the whole ask. Thank you. See you on the next episode.